everyone. My name is Heather Coliendo. I'm a senior editor with Plastics Technology magazine, and I'm so excited to be here today with both Blake and Darayus, who are going to talk to us about a really interesting 3D printing project. So first, Blake, Darayus, will you guys first talk a bit more about your role with the company and also, of course, your company yourself, or of course, about the company itself.
Okay, go ahead, Blake.
Thank you, sir. So my name is Blake Mosher. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here at Essentium. And at Essentium, our main mission is to bridge the gap between 3D printing, as where it stood for many years in manufacturing. And so we actually have created a full line of high performance materials and high-speed extrusion platform. There's really been a sense of a chapter for maybe 30 years or so of prototyping in 3D printing, and we're focused in really all of our materials and our high-speed extrusion platform are really geared towards the manufacturing. So sprint manufacturing scenarios or end-of-life parts or bridge molding or all different types of projects, but focused on that ROI for the manufacturing floor.
Okay, and I'm Darayus Pardivala, and I work for a company by the name of Sulzer. Sulzer is a global and international company. We are in the machinery business, and we are an essential services business, and I run the American service side of the business with about 32 locations. So we repair turbines, compressors, pumps, motors, all rotating equipment for the energy space, for power generation and energy.
Perfect. Great, thank you. So I was wondering if you both could talk a bit about how business has changed in light of COVID-19.
Well,
absolutely.
In our space, go ahead, Blake, please.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So in our space, things have certainly changed. Of course, the consumption has gone down quite a bit, and the safety aspect has become even more critical than it's ever been. But being an essential service, we have to make sure that the lights stay on and our clients are serviced and the community is serviced. So depending on the community, our clients and employees, I mean, we always have to stay on. So we've had to take some drastic measures and procedures and processes, put them quickly in place to make sure that business continues without interruption.
Yes, and echoing that, we've certainly had to do all those employee health and safety things too. We're also an essential business. And I guess first of all, I'd say it's really heart-wrenching just looking out at the change in the business landscape. But I think one thing that certainly has changed is that I think we see a spotlight that's been shown on preparedness, and so that includes supply chain resilience and risk mitigation and supply chain agility and an ability to manage change. And that's a lot of what I think companies have to focus on during this seam. Is you have a change in customer engagement, whether it's demand gen. I mean, we don't have trade shows to go to at this point in time, obviously, and you think about it from a talent management standpoint too, working from home, cybersecurity, all those concerns that are there too. And I think the essential business is certainly like both Essentium and Sulzer have had to adapt through some of this tumultuous change with again change of policies, how we work together and how we proceed together.
Okay, thank you. So can you talk about how this partnership came together with regards to these reusable 3D masks? Have you all worked together in the past, or was this a whole new initiative to come together for this?
Well, we've known about Essentium. I mean, we've even looked at some of their printers because we know they make high quality printers. And we always looked at them and said, look, should we do something together? And we've seen their products, but when this particular situation came out, we realized that they were actually prototyping masks. And we thought, wow, really good way to do it. But we also realized at the same time that we did not want to impact on the medical supply chain. So while we need N95 masks for industrial processes, we did not want to have a huge amount of masks that are that could be used in the medical supply chain. So we said, look, we need to find a quick alternate solution. At the same time, all the supply chains, like Blake mentioned earlier, were tied up really heavily. And we talked to Blake and we said, look, let's see if your prototype works for us. And Blake, we sent an engineer out there. Blake and my engineer tested the masks out really quickly. And they go to non-conventional supply chains to get the filter material, which was very beneficial to us, and kept all our operations open. So it was a little bit disconcerting because we know Essentium is a smaller company, and to put all our requirements in their hands, it was a little bit difficult because we have about 40 locations we were looking at keeping open really quickly, but they met all our requirements, and they kept us open, and we had all our people, about 2,000 people, about 2,600 people in masks, and we still operate with the same masks. So they really kind of surprised us, and we were very pleasantly surprised that in 1 week we were in operation before all the regulations came our way.
So, thanks for the trust that you put in Essentium. And I just want to echo one thing, the heart that Sulzer demonstrated, because time and time again, they came to us and said, look, if there's other frontline workers that need to be taken care of, please take care of them first. It was delightful to kind of walk through this early stage of the journey with, those shared values. So on our side, we were looking for what can we do? How can we respond? It's a massive change. And so we started looking at all different types of 3D printed parts and landed on masks, part because of demand from the state of Texas National Guard, and but also right here in Pflugerville. On the outside of Austin and Pflugerville, and the Pflugerville Police Department didn't have masks to go out to do their work, and so we were approached with developing those prototypes. And as we developed those prototypes, again, Sulzer was always generous in balancing their needs with other needs as we took care of Pflugerville Police Department and other emergency workers, and at the same point in time, as quickly as was feasible, we were able to supply Sulzer as well.
Very interesting. Okay, I'm really curious about the process to 3D print the mask to meet Sulzer's time. It seems that time was really critical with this. I was wondering if you could kind of talk a bit about the process of that.
Absolutely. So time was critical. Certainly, so there were multiple elements of it. One was we needed additional space to do this. So thankfully, there was a bay next to us that we had already signed on the rights, and we real quickly turn that bay into a sprint manufacturing facility. So our hats off to multiple of the companies here in Pflugerville that helped us with getting electrical established real quickly, and lighting and sheetrock and all those type things. And in parallel, we were designing multiple iterations of the mask, and then landed on a certain design, which is it looks like this. So basically you have clips, and you clip in the filtration, and so the filtration actually goes on top of the mask, and the filtration itself is ASTM level 2 certified. And so the combination of reusable mask that's can be cleaned, and the combination with a single-use filtration we thought was a good way to go. So ultimately, we were able to supply companies like Sulzer and others within the state of Texas and beyond with masks that had basically the ability to go for like 30 days. So a mask kit would include, again, this frame plus the filtration sheets, and we would include 30 filtration sheets in that design. And so you could basically go for 30 days, and the cost actually was cheaper than what you can get through regular supply chains. So the material itself, if I can just elaborate a tiny bit on that, the material we landed on is actually a polyamide nylon 666. So it's with our strategic partner BASF, and it's part of their FDA compliant ultramid family of materials. So we had appropriate thanks are due to our friends and strategic partners at BASF as well for helping us through this material choice, so that we could come up with the best material for this type of mask and the PPE. So then if we put lots of machines in this bay and went to multiple shifts and did a sprint manufacturing stand up within a matter of weeks, and Sulzer and others would come by to pick up their masks, and now we're we have orders for over 76,000 at this point in time, and we're getting close to halfway through that fulfillment, and should be through in the next 3 to 4 weeks with the rest of that allocation, and we're ready if indeed there's a larger second wave type of situation for us.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Thank you. So in the press release, it mentioned about a child version of the mask kit and also a donation to a charity. I was wondering if you all could expand on that.
Well, so let me talk about that a little bit. I mean, first of all, let me add one thing to what Blake said. We in the energy business, we are quite used to working around the clock, and we work 24/7 all the time. And so it was pretty surprising for us to see a small company tool up so fast, get ready so fast, and work around the clock to supply our masks. And it kept us in production really quickly. At the same time, we support a local shelter for children. We've done this for probably 20, 25 years, and over the years probably raised over $2 million for the shelter. And but we realized at this time and at this point, it wasn't about raising funds for the shelter, but it was about keeping the children and the employees at the shelter safe. So we called Blake and we said, look, while we can send about 30 or 40 adult-sized masks, the kids looked at them and said, where's our mask? Because of course the mask wouldn't fit the kids, and these kids range from 4 years old to about 18 years old, and some of the little kids said, look, where's our mask? So we called Blake, and I called him over the weekend actually, and I said, Blake, could you guys print us some smaller versions? And he said, how about 75% versions? And I think you guys printed 2 or 3 different versions, and we sent it to the kids, and today they're all in the masks. Yeah, so he's got the smaller version right there with him.
Oh, great.
So I mean, they sent us a few pictures of the kids assembling the masks and getting things ready. So it was really good. Thank you, Blake.
And thank you, because we were supplying other frontline workers, and what I really appreciated was that you brought to our attention, frankly, just this other need. And there's so many compelling needs out there, and every company's here in the United States and elsewhere is doing their best to take care of those needs. But this was a deeply exciting and meaningful project for us, to be transparent, that we were able to come, together and just help with that donation in any way, shape, or form, and again, take care of some of the children that needed to be taken care of, and needed this this mask just to help them through and navigating some of this COVID-19 context.
Thank you for sharing. That's really nice. I like that. Okay, to kind of circle back again with 3D printing, I was wondering, like, if you could talk a bit about how important 3D printing is when it comes to support for the supply chain for PPE.
Absolutely. When we think of supply chain, there's obviously a need for resilience and risk mitigation, but there's a huge need for supply chain agility. And when I think of that agility out in the marketplace, that agility not only transfers into operational efficiencies and ROI and working capital and so on and so forth, but really what it does is it allows to overcome these uncertainties. And what I would say is that 3D printing in particular is the best responsive tool for supply chain agility. So uncertainty necessitates a responsive tool, and 3D printing or additive is really that penultimate responsive in order to accomplish that agility. You can print tremendous amount of things, whether it's masks or other parts or ventilator parts or so on and so forth, whether it's just in the PPE context or jigs and fixtures to help you with other types of projects. Additive manufacturing really allows you to adapt and overcome in terms of both what your company is doing, the vision of your company, as well as what your team's seeking to accomplish, and that adapt and overcome type of strategy is really the heartbeat of additive manufacturing.
Great. Well, that's it for my run of questions. Is there anything else you guys like to talk about, like to point out? Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think, from our vantage point, staying in operation, like I mentioned earlier, was very, very critical. Helping the needs of the shelter were very critical. And keeping our employees safe at this point in time was probably one of the most critical things for us. And Essentium pretty much ramped up from fundamentally making printers to printing masks for us. And the speed at which they ramped up was very impressive to us. So we appreciate what they did for us.
And I think what I would add is, Sulzer just represents the type of, essential business, and they responded to this in a way of, change is normal. This is a massive change, but teams that are geared towards managing change are better positioned to overcome. And Sulzer, it was a pleasure to walk through this journey, with them to not only help, but also just to see their responsive team in action as they knew they needed PPE. They did it in a way that didn't sacrifice other frontline workers getting it, but again, they did so in a highly responsive way to keep their company running. So quite frankly, that was a joy and a pleasure to watch from afar and to participate in.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for spending time with me today and talking about this really wonderful project. And again, I just appreciate you guys taking the time. It was very interesting to learn more about this. So, and thank you, of course, for tuning in. And any content regarding with COVID, and of course, anything with regards to plastic manufacturing, you can go to ptonline.com. So thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks, Heather.